Well, apparently her father loaned money to the town.
Is that why Miss Emily does not pay taxes?
Yeah, the town liked that deal with her father, and so I guess that's how it is.
Dude, that's crazy.
But the next generation, with its more modern ideas, took over office. Miss Emily's arrangement was no longer satisfactory. They wanted taxes from Miss Emily and tried every way possible to get them from her. The sheriff's office actually sent a letter to Miss Emily. She was having to pay this amount according to their new rules that they put in place, and she simply was not having it, as you can see. When none of their written attempts worked, they called a committee of the authorities to go visit Miss Emily and have a talk with her. They were admitted by her servant into her home, which had not been entered in approximately 10 years. They were led into their parlor, where they sat on the cracked leather furniture that was covered in dust. They stood to their feet as Miss Emily entered the room. She stood in the doorway listening and watching as the men stated their cause. When he finally finished talking, the few seconds waiting for her response felt like hours. You could practically hear the clock ticking. Finally, she spoke.
I have no taxes in Jefferson. Colonel Sartorius explained it to me. Perhaps one of you can gain access to the city records and satisfy yourselves.
But we are the city authority, Miss Emily. Didn't you get a notice from a sheriff signed by himself?
I received a paper, yes. Perhaps he considers himself the sheriff, but I have no taxes in Jefferson.
But there's nothing on the books to show that. You see, we must go by the...
See, Colonel Sartorius, I have no taxes in Jefferson.
But Miss Emily,
See, Colonel Sartorius.
Colonel Sartorius has been dead for 10 years.
I have no taxes in Jefferson. Toby, show these gentlemen out.
So, the authorities had been vanquished, like their fathers had been 30 years ago about a smell. This was about 2 years after the passing of her father, and a little while after her love had deserted her. When her father passed, she stopped going out as much, but when her sweetheart was gone, the people hardly saw her at all. The townswomen tried to call her, but she would never answer. The only sign of life at home was the servant leaving with the basket every now and then. So, the smell came as no surprise to them. The neighbors called and complained to the mayor.
But what will you have me do about it, madam?
Why, send her word to stop it. Isn't there any law?
I'm sure that won't be necessary. It is probably just a snake or a rat that servant of hers killed in the yard. I will talk to him about it. Yes.
It is simple enough. Send her word to have her place cleaned up. Give her a certain time to do it in, and if she don't...
Dang it, sir. Would you accuse a lady to her face of smelling bad?
The following night, after midnight, the men snuck onto Miss Emily's property and across her yard like burglars. They broke open the cellar door and put lime in the cellar and the outbuildings as well. Then one of the windows lit up with a light, and there sat Miss Emily motionless. The men crept back across the yard and into the shadows. The smell was gone within 2 weeks. When Emily's father died, all he left her was the house. When the word got out of this, the townspeople could finally pity her. The day after his death, they planned to call her and offer her their condolences. Miss Emily met them at the door, dressed normally, not grieving at all. She told the people her father was not dead. The ministers and the doctors came to try and persuade them of his death, and after 3 days she finally broke down and let them bury his body. They did not think she was crazy then. They believed she had to do it. She was sick for a long time. When she was seen again, her hair was cut short, and she resembled an angel from the church windows. The summer after her father's death, the paving company began their work. They brought their servants, mules, and machinery, as well as Homer Barron, their foreman. The servants would sing in time to the sound of their picks, and the boys of the town would follow to listen as they sang and were cursed at by Homer. He was always in the center of laughter, and pretty soon he knew everyone. As a matter of fact, on Sunday afternoons, he was seen with Emily driving around town. This led to even more of a spark in the town's drama.
Of course, Grierson, a northerner, wouldn't take seriously a laborer.
Poor Emily. Her kinsfolk she comes in.
Yeah, poor Emily.
Do you suppose it really is so?
I mean, of course it is so. What else could it?
But even when we started to believe she had fallen, she always held her head high. As the last Grierson, she wanted that recognition and dignity. like when she bought rat poison when her two cousins came into town about a year after they began the talk of poor Emily.
I want some poison.
What kind, Miss Emily?
I want the best you have. I don't care what kind.
Is it for rats or, what kind of thing are you trying to kill?
Arsenic. Is that a good one?
It'll kill an elephant.
I want arsenic.
All right, Miss Emily. She will kill herself, and maybe it's for the best.
We always said she would marry Homer to persuade him. It is rumored that he is a drinker and he's also a
So the townswomen forced the Baptist minister to call upon her. He never told what happened during the interview, but he would not go back. She was seen with Homer the next Sunday, so the minister's wife wrote a letter to her relations in Alabama, and in just a short time, she had family under her roof again. Then we watched as developments occurred. They were certain non-engagement would occur soon, when Miss Emily was seen out buying a silver toilet set with HB on it, and a few days later a full outfit of men's clothing.
They are married. She even bought a nightshirt.
I'm glad for her.
No one was surprised when Homer disappeared unannounced. Everyone thought he had gone to prepare for her arrival and was waiting for her two cousins to leave. The town came together to help get rid of the cousins, and sure enough, after a week, they left. 3 days later, Homer returned. A neighbor saw him enter the house, being let in by the servant through the kitchen. That was the last anyone saw of Homer Baird. Miss Emily was not seen for some time either. The servant went in and out with a market basket, but for the next 6 months, you only saw Miss Emily in the window for a split second, and then she would be gone again. But the people knew this was to be expected. When she was next seen, she had gained lots of weight, and her hair was gray. It was this way up until she died. From then on, the door remained closed. In her 40s, she gave china painting lessons, but then when she lost her last student after 7 years, she never opened the doors again. When the town began to get free postal delivery, Miss Emily would not allow them to give her a mailbox or hang the numbers on her door. Each December, the sheriff's office continued to send a tax notice, and a week later, each of them would be returned as unclaimed. You could sometimes see Miss Emily in a downstairs window, but the upstairs had been closed, and so she died. Fell ill in the house, filled with dust and shadows, with only her servant to wait on her. They did not even know she was sick. They had given up on trying. The servant met the first of the ladies at the door and let them in, with their quiet voices and curious glances. Then he disappeared, never to be seen again. The two cousins came and held the funeral on the second day. The town came to look at Miss Emily, who was covered in bought flowers. The old men stood and told tales of Miss Emily, and how they danced with her and courted her, confusing her with someone else. Everyone knew of the room upstairs. It had not been seen in 40 years, but they wanted to go in, opening it, knowing it would have to be forced. After Miss Emily was decently buried, they came back to open that door. The violence and force it took to open the door filled the entire room with pervading dust. The room was furnished like it was for a bride. There was a faded rose curtain, faded shaded lights, a dressing table, array of crystals, man toilet things tarnished in silver and monograms. There was also a collar and tie laid out. In the bed laid the man. For a while everyone just stood there looking down at the profound and fleshless grin. The body laid as if in an embrace at one point, but death had overcome him. He was rotting beneath the nightshirt, which could no longer be removed from the bed he laid in. He and the pillow next to him had the dust. They noticed that on the pillow next to him was a head indentation and a long strand of gray hair.
Ready.
Oh, you
Wait, we got to do it again.